So we are on Zoom and we're also live on BettahLife TV on YouTube. Welcome everyone. My name is Ayodeji Bankole Lushino. I am the Chief Growth Officer for BettahLife Living Benefits. This is indeed an August gathering. This journey started in April last year with us setting up a board of advisors for our Wellbeing at Workplace initiative. On the board of advisors, we have Mr. Adewale Smart, the DG of NECA, Frank Aibogun, CEO BusinessDay, NECA Okekaru, Director EDC, Musa Ali Baba is a consultant and NED FSDH Merchant Bank, Alero Onosode, ex-Shell, ex-Seplat, Pai Gamde, CTO Coronation Group, Oiza Salu, CTO Polaris Bank, Fumi Aipeku is CCO for Foodco, and Dr. Yetunde Anibaba, PhD, Lagos Business School. Many things have happened for us to be here today. Yetunde Anibaba is the leader of our work group for our Wellbeing at Workplace survey. Well, she suddenly took ill and she's indisposed and will not be here today. She will be participating virtually, but thank God Oiza stepped into her shoes. Also this morning, I got another message from Ms. Lola Eson, who is also indisposed. And thank God we were also able to quickly get Mrs. Abaton to step up to it. So we still have a full complement. I am a facilitator. I'm not an HR person, but I am facilitating this conversation. Wellbeing at Workplace is a global conversation, but we need to contextualize it in Africa, and we need to create African solutions about this kind of conversation, and that's why we're here. In all our businesses, we have a philosophy of well-being, and therefore we have policies of well-being. Therefore, we also have practices of well-being. But the question is, are they aligned? Thank God for NECA. I now know what it is to be responsible employer or carry out business in a responsible way. So the question is, how are our businesses matching up to responsibility? And is it a global solution that is one cap fits all, or is there a Nigerian solution to our issues? And this room, whether here or online, all experts are seated. You are the ones that will bring the solution. HRDs, HR managers, the solution sits with you. And so we at BettahLife are just facilitating this conversation. And we're saying, let us bring our own Nigerian solution to this global issue so that we can have more responsible businesses in Nigeria. Unfortunately, even though you are all experts, not all of you will be on the panel. But we've chosen some of you to lead those conversations, and there's an opportunity for open mic where anybody can come up with ideas or questions that will also make the conversation richer. So without saying much, I would want to invite my boss to open this event. EG of NECA is my boss, so I invite him to open the event. Mr. Adewale Smart Oyende.
permit me to debunk the last comment he made about his boss. We all know who the boss is. So whoever pays for this all, whoever is the person that is feeding us, is basically the boss. So remain the boss. Good morning, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. When you are in the midst of a familiar spirit, you just feel comfortable. You feel at ease. And for me, I think I feel like that in this gathering. And when he approached us last year, I can't remember how the conversation started, but he came in and he started this conversation about this project. For me, it was no brainer because I'm a fitness enthusiast, and although I've not been faithful to my dance class, but I'm a fitness enthusiast, and I also understand the importance of employee well-being in the context of driving the business. While we represent businesses as it were, we also realize that the employee have to be fit, the employee have to be well, and the employee have to be alive to contribute effectively to the context of the business group. So for us, it's more of an enlightened self-interest, logging into this project, supporting this project, and not only seeing it from the employee perspective, but seeing it within the context of business survival, seeing it within the context of national growth and development. So we are glad to be part of this project. We are glad to be part of this conversation. It started like a seed, and it gladdens our hearts that is blossoming. And when I saw the list of the HR directors, HR personnel that aligned themselves to this conversation, it just affirmed the fact that I think we are in the right course. So, and thank you for NECA, for mentioning NECA earlier. For those that don't know what NECA does, we are the employer representative in Nigeria. We represent the interest of the organized private sector. So whatever business you do, we promote, we advance, and then we defend the interest of your business. We help you to face the business of doing business, while we take off all the distractions, all those petty distractions from regulators, from the legislators, from whoever you interact with out of your business. You can count on NECA to help you to deal with those issues. While our impact might be lost a bit in the context of the HR, but if you relate with your government regulatory officers, then they will tell you that we saved your businesses billions of naira from customs, 4% FOB levy that we fought, and the Minister of Finance rescinded. They will tell you we saved your businesses from the new levies by Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria that also will cost your businesses millions and millions of naira annually, that we saved your businesses a lot of issues with the National Assembly. So while it might be lost on the HR because you are not really in that conversation, but NECA is your best plug when it comes to business survival in this environment. My bosses will sanction me if I didn't market, every opportunity to market. So that is what we do. So let's feel free. We are absolutely part of this conversation. My colleagues are coming, and because NECA is here and CIPM is here, I'm also glad to see the president leaving the comfort of his office and coming to join us in this place, and also colleagues and friends that are here. I think we are in the right place. We are driving the right conversation, and definitely we'll see how big this will grow. But definitely when it becomes the oak tree that we all think it will be nice to us to see all of us within that context of that tree being part of this conversation, not only now but in the long time. So thank you once again for having us, and thank you for extending this opportunity to us for NECA to participate. You could have been somebody else, but God directed you to our office, and the rest is history. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are people that you share vision with, and they kill it. There are those that you share with and they own it and they run with it and they drag you along. That is what NECA has been to us. So I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. Now there's another, just as he said, because NECA is with us, I was able to, or we were able to, with our full chest, then talk to CIPM. You know, sometimes when you want to go somewhere, they would look at who is with you, or, you know, how have you adorned yourself? And I'm sure that because of the association with NECA and, you know, BusinessDay and EDC, we were then able to also get CIPM to join us and to put their weight behind us. And honestly, even I cannot believe where we are and what the future holds for us. But I can assure you that we're running this race together with all of you in this room and virtually. It is a race to attend to well-being at workplace in Nigeria. It's a journey for all of us. NECA, CIPM, EDC, MSME Africa, they're all aggregators. But those who would implement it are you, who are day-to-day running businesses. At this time, I'll just invite our president to share some remarks with us.
Thank you very much, Aya. Thanks. Good morning, all. I think for about a week now, Ayo has been telling me, Mr. President, you have 5 minutes to speak to us. So, and I have learned that when organizers tell you you have 5 minutes, you try to keep to the 5 minutes. So, unlike the DG of NECA, who exactly, that's what I'm saying. Unlike the DJ of NECA, who has, who's not told he has 5 minutes. So I do not breach the 5 minutes protocol. I came with a prepared speech, and I made sure that I would be able to deliver it in 3-4 minutes. So, distinguished speakers and respected professionals and advocates of workplace well-being, good morning to you all once again. It is with a deep sense of appreciation that I wish to, on behalf of CIA and myself, extend warm greetings and goodwill to you all here present at this Wellbeing at Workplace Human Resource Forum with the theme, Employee Wellbeing as a Business Strategy in Nigeria. Let me begin by commending BettahLife for organizing this incredibly timely and essential event. You have brought together some of the brightest minds in HR, in business and wellness to discuss employee well-being, which in my view is now the heartbeat of any organizational success. The question we often ask now is, what truly defines a great workplace? Is it the paychecks? Is it the fancy titles or the impressive office spaces? Or is it about creating an environment where people feel valued, supported, and empowered to bring their best selves to work every day? The answer, I believe, is crystal clear for us all. Several studies have found that organizations that prioritize employee well-being not only see significant increase in productivity, reduction in absenteeism, but also higher levels of engagement and innovation. In contrast, burnout and workplace stress are costing businesses billions in lost productivity. Therefore, the message is simple. Employee well-being is not an expense, it is indeed an investment. I'm particularly thrilled to see that today's forum is also a CIPM star-studded event. I'm proud to learn that our respected past president, Mr. Victor Famuyebo, FCIPM, who is a seasoned HR expert and whose contributions to people management continue to inspire us, will be joining us. Our dynamic, indefatigable Registrar and Chief Executive, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, whose contributions continues to drive excellence in our institute and in people management, is also here with us. Our very amiable and popular TDA, Taiwo Dayo Abaton, FCIPM and HR thought leader, is here with us. We also have the pleasure of having Coach Lara Yeku with us here this morning. And of course, my brother, a very irrepressible Yemi Fasheun, a very impressive HR thought leader, will also be speaking to us here today. And last but by no means the least, we also have the pleasure of having our very own Oiza Salu, MCIPM, joining us to speak about wellness and well-being this morning. With such an outstanding and impressive lineup of HR thought leaders and speakers, I have no doubt that today's conversations will spark real and lasting change. At CIPM, we firmly believe that people are not just resources. They are the very essence of business success. Our mission is to continuously drive conversations, policies, and strategies that put employee well-being at the core of workplace transformation. We're committed to advocating for better work environments, mental health support, and policies that ensure Nigerian businesses don't just survive, but thrive through their people. It is for this reason that we are open to collaborate with BettahLife on this and other such great initiatives. Once again, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to BettahLife. Your dedication to employee well-being is commendable. And I encourage every business leader here to take today's insights beyond the four walls of this event. The future of work is well-being driven. The question is, will you all be part of it? I wish us all a truly insightful and impactful conversation at this forum, and I thank you for inviting me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will start doing the exams now so that I can get my pin. Thank you very much. We're going to move quickly. I'm going to, and I'm not disregarding protocol, but I'm just, making everybody feel comfortable. Oiz and I have come a long way, 20, 25 years thereabout. So when Dr. Anibaba became indisposed, it was easy for me to say, Oiza, you need to bill me. And apart from the fact that she's also on our board of advisors, she took it gracefully. Thank you very much, Oiza. Oiza, we'll take it on from here.
Thank you very much, AG. And good morning once again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this session, which we definitely hope will be quite enlightening and a useful use of your time this morning. I will be introducing our lead speaker for the day. He is a past president of CIPM, as well as a distinguished HR thought leader and professional. Victor Famuyibo, FCIPM, following a 6-year work experience in a private company in Lagos, Victor joined Nigerian Breweries as personnel manager. He distinguished himself while in that role, and in 2002, he went on cross-posting to Heineken's headquarters in Amsterdam. He worked in Holland for 7 years in different roles, and his last role was supervising the regional operations in Central, West, and North Africa. He was appointed Human Resource Director and on the board of Nigerian Breweries in September 2008. Post-retirement, he was appointed by the Honorable Minister of Labour and Employment to serve on the Industrial Arbitration Panel as a federal arbitrator. He resigned from this role voluntarily in June 2019. He served as council member of the United Bank for Africa UBA Academy. He is also non-executive chairman, board of UConnect, an HR outsourcing company. And Victor was appointed in April 2021 on the board of Transcore as a non-executive director. He's here today to start off and set the tone in terms of well-being being a strategic business imperative. So, gentlemen and ladies, please join me in welcoming our lead speaker, Mr. Victor Famuyibo, FCIPM. Thank you. He's joining us online. We can.
Hello, can somebody?
We can hear you, sir, loud and clear.
Okay, I see. Yes, loud. I can hear you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so once again, I say good morning to all of us, and I welcome us very warmly to today's conversation. I think it is what I consider the best conversation for the year 2025. Thank God the year is just starting, but I'm waiting to see which other conversation will be better than this one, because this is long overdue. I want to thank BettahLife. I thank you, DJ. I thank your team. I thank your board of advisors for putting this conversation together. I want to specially acknowledge the presence of my president and chairman of council, who spoke to us a short while ago. Thank you, sir, for the good work that you have been doing since you came on board. We're so proud of you. I thank the registrar of the CIPM. I thank the EDC, the business school, BusinessDay as well, and to all of us who are here joining this conversation in person, but also virtually. My last count, I could see that more than 150 participants have joined online, which for me is very impressive. Actually now it's 160, can you imagine? So I welcome all of us. And I also acknowledge that this is a gathering of senior HR colleagues and professionals who are individually but also collectively driving change in their various organizations. As you would have gathered from my CV or my resume that was read by Oiza, I have been involved in this for the better part of my life, both locally within Nigeria and also when I went on cross-posting, looking for ways and means of improving well-being of the employee. Not just because we want to pay them well and we want them to be happy, but because we consider it to also be a strategic priority. And because we know, and it has been proven from research that not to do it is setting yourself up to fail. So it's very important that we put in all our heart into this conversation today, because there is a whole lot that can come out of it that we can take back and run with when we get back to our various businesses. So, sorry, before I go on, I also would like to acknowledge the presence of my DG of NECA. Mr. Wale Smart Oyerinde, thank you so much for helping to run with this idea from the moment that BettahLife approached you as the DG of NECA. You guys have been doing wonderfully well. Thank you. So very quickly, because I'm also mindful of time, maybe I have just about roughly 12 minutes left to set the tone, because setting the tone is important for those who will then go into the conversation that today is all about. So, by way of setting the tone, we will quickly look at a few ticket items. So, we're looking generally at the business case for employee well-being, and here we'll touch on well-being and productivity. We'll touch on retention and talent attraction. Remember I said earlier that it is a strategic imperative to give some focus and pay attention to employee well-being as a business strategy. So we would also touch on measuring ROI, the return on investment of workplace well-being program. You know, because you and I, at least for most people in the room, we have this arduous task within our various organizations where we're not able, we're able to, but we're not. We unlike our colleagues in production, our colleagues in sales, our colleagues in marketing, who can show with numbers very easily what value they are bringing onto the table. It is not as easy for our profession, our discipline, the human resource discipline. And that is why we keep emphasizing that you need to be able to prove to the business that in all of these HR interventions that we advocate, there are credible returns on investment. And if you can't show it, then the business, or at least the business leaders, we just dismiss it as one of those like to do, nice to do HR fancies. And we don't want critical interventions to be dismissed just like that. And that's why emphasis should always be on return on investment. How do we track it? And also remember that whatever gets measured gets done. If you don't measure, you don't even know if the activity that you are implementing, that you are so passionate about, you don't know whether it is truly adding value or not. And that is why it's important to pay attention to that. We would also try to see a few best practice initiatives. So let's not just talk about it. Let's see what are some good examples that maybe we have heard about before, but today is the first time that somebody is then making it real, getting us to see how it has helped, or it has helped some organization somewhere. And perhaps it's something that we want to go back and then, think about it and say, okay, given my own situation, given where I work, given the limitations here, how do I plug and play in a way that it can work for my own environment? some implementation strategies, and then we look very quickly at challenges and opportunities. What are the opportunities that are still out there? So talking about the business case, I think what is important is for us to focus our attention on impact. What sort of effect? And when I say effect, positive effect on the organization. Where can we be looking at in terms of impact? I'll give you some very quickly. One is increased efficiencies. Trust me, from my own past experience, when you focus on the well-being of your employees, definitely, you will find that people tend to be more productive. They tend to be more productive. One, because they're also very healthy. So the energy is there, the passion is there, the commitment is there. They're not falling sick every now and again. And they find work and the workplace interesting. When I say interesting, so on Sunday evening, there is a sudden push of energy and joy that I am returning to that workplace tomorrow, being Monday. And on Friday, they're still walking around even after close of work. They don't want to leave because it's an interesting workplace. It's a workplace that supports them in every sense of the word. So you find there will be fewer sick days when you are paying attention to the well-being of your employees. Your staff will enjoy working and will take less sick leave. They don't even want to fall sick, and they don't fall sick because they are healthy. You have put programs around them that are known to them because they are participants in those programs. It improves their health. And we will see some of the kinds of programs that you can put around them. How about staff attraction? Being able to attract people to your organization because they see you as the go-to place. It is an organization that everybody would like to work for. So for every vacancy, you're getting so many inquiries, so many people wanting to join the organization. So attraction becomes easy for you. You get a pool, a good pool of will-be employees from which you can tap. How about retention? Also, you see that your attrition rate is low, and you and I, as HR professionals, we know how to measure attrition. And sometimes we'll think, oh, it's because I paid them very good salary and there's nowhere else to go. But I tell you, salary may not be it, allowances may not be it, but when you make it more holistic in terms of how you manage your people and you support their entire life, you will see that you get more mileage out of that. Your employees are more engaged. So there is what we also know and call the work-life balance equation within our workplace. So when there is well-being, there is good work-life balance. People not only work very hard, but they also play very hard. They have time for work and they have time for family, for friends, and their life is more wholesome, it's more complete. There is improved morale of the employee, and of course when there is morale, there is always the tendency that the staff is healthier in the long run, like I said earlier. There's less stress, less burnout. Poor mental health leads to low productivity. So you find that there are less errors at work. You're not doing real work. You're not having to correct over and over again. You don't have production errors in the factory. At head office, there are no accounting errors because your people are very well engaged, their morale is high, and all because you pay attention to their well-being. And of course, higher absenteeism. So absenteeism will suddenly start to disappear. People want to be at work as much as possible. And you know, next to absenteeism is also presenteeism, where some people come to work but they're not there. They come there but they haven't come there. They get to the parking lot and they leave all their initiatives and all their energy in the parking spot before coming into the building. But when there is good attention paid to well-being, that does not happen, or at least it is minimized. I know that we are running out of time. I go very quickly to give some examples of areas that we can be looking at. So you can pay attention to how you attend to the medical needs of your people. I know everybody has migrated into the HMO environment, or between you and I, in many cases that is not working well. Your employees complain to the high heavens the way they are treated by some HMOs who are trying to be smarter by half, who do not, they issue them generic medicines, they deny them care, and so on and so forth. Do we as HR practitioners who are in charge of well-being, do we pay attention to that, to see whether our HMO schemes are working at all? Or, it is done, we tick the box, we have given them HMO. Are we doing surveys within the business to be sure that we're on top of things and getting it to work for our employees? And in some cases where we also extend it to cover their family members, which is always a good idea, is it working for them? What are the limitations? How can we improve on it? Because when you have the healthy employee and by extension their family members, you get people who are more productive. How far does it go for medical? Do you cover simple surgeries or even complex surgeries? How about their vision? Some employees have their vision damaged in the course of work, especially those who work in the factory. Do we just say, you know what, we don't cover eyeglasses, we don't cover this, we don't cover that? Are you more focused on exclusions rather than inclusions? Again, health savings account, but do you ask them to co-pay, or are you able as an organization to take care of it by yourself? Then the insurance facilities that we provide, because these are things that really take the heat off the employee. Does it cover all the things that will give them comfort? Do we give them paid time off? Sick leave, vacation, family leave, when they are bereaved, casual leave? How do we manage through all of this? Do we offer this to our employees? Do we, for example, encourage them to do things that are healthy, to eat healthy? Do we encourage them to go to the gym? Do we, for nursing mothers, have we ever thought of putting like a small facility within the premises for nursing mothers, so that at least when they still have those very young babies, they can put them there under supervision, under care, and that gives them a whole lot of mental stability while they're doing their work. How about your retirement schemes? Those are things that you need to be looking at on how to attend to the well-being of employees. I talked about tracking the impact of employee well-being, the return on investment. Areas that we may like to focus on would be brand health. How is it improving our brand health? Can we, the health of our brand, either our brand as a corporate brand or even our product brand, ones that we take to the market? How about our talent acquisition? Is it getting better? How are we doing with our employee value proposition? That we're able to speak to what we do and what we give to our employees when we go out there to recruit. And more people see us as the employer, the go-to employer. Then employee engagement. I know that for many of us, we periodically measure employee engagement. We try to see how engaged people are. But it's not enough to just do the survey and report on it. It is also about the action plan. So when employees are giving us the feedback and we suspect that things are not working well, how do we put up an implementation plan to close the gap? Then also lower the attrition rate. How many people are leaving us and why are they leaving us? And when they leave us, where are they leaving us to go to? Are they traveling abroad, the JAPA thing, which we cannot understand why? But even then, if you provide an environment that people don't want to be missed out of, they probably will think twice. So are we able to track on attrition? Do we do our exit interview and follow through with the feedback that we are given at those exit interviews? I know that my time is running out, but I just want to encourage us in this conversation to not to limit whatever we are discussing to the physical well-being, because well-being at the workplace goes beyond the physical. It encompasses all aspects of an employee's life. So we always encourage us as HR professionals to look at it holistically. I encourage you to also look at the BettahLife's 8 domains that covers the intellectual, the financial, the emotional, the physical, occupational, spiritual, environmental, and the social. So look at it holistically. Don't just focus, for example, on pay and benefits. Oh, if I can improve on the housing allowance and give them generator and give them a car and a driver, oh, then the well-being is assured. You are being tunnel focused. I want you to expand the conversation to look at it holistically, because that is the only way that we can really bring the meat out of the bones and we can chew on it. Again, the critical role of leadership. So and also participate in it. So don't just create programs for people and detach yourself from it. Lead by example. Lead by example. And prioritize mental health. Embrace flexible work arrangement, which is getting more and more, it's becoming more and more possible these days. There are all kinds of possibilities. I am not in the country right now, but we can still have this conversation together. And that is because there are all kinds of arrangements and facilities and tools that can help us to manage our employees in a way that if they don't have to be physically in person at the workplace, they can still do good work. Employee involvement as well as continuous improvement. So I'm asking us to think of tracking the community best practices, adopt or modify your program to tune new development, and be responsive and adaptable to change as and when necessary. So in the interest of time, let me just end by again welcoming us to this conversation. I'm hoping that at the end of today we go back and we can do things differently. We can wow the organization. We can create the future and leave a winning legacy. Leave a winning legacy, and we can also explore new territories. Because I tell you, we have not even started at all. We haven't started. I want you to have a progressive mindset. It's important that, again, we bring all our thoughts to this conversation today. Because by sharing our thoughts, sometimes you see that it is your colleague sitting next to you who is going to modify it in a way that it gets to you in a chewable format, and when you get at the work, you are then able to do things different. But welcome everybody, and
thank you very much. Setting the tone quite nicely on today's conversation, providing a very holistic point of view that I'm sure our panelists will then build on with very. Global strategic HR leader, executive coach, mentor, international speaker, and author, who is well recognized for her contributions to human resource management in Nigeria. She has almost 2 decades of experience spanning industries such as manufacturing, consulting, and logistics across the HR value chain, business and operations management. Fondly called CLY, Coach Lara Yeku, she is head of HR Food Commercial, Supply Chain, Industries, Corporate and Services at Flour Mills of Nigeria. Please let's give her a warm welcome as she comes up. Taiwo Dayo Abaton, FCIPM, is a globally licensed HR practitioner, a certified coach, and a passionate mentor and facilitator. She has over 20 years core HR experience across various sectors like insurance, healthcare, consulting, and financial services. She's committed to building the next generation of HR and business leaders and is currently the regional head of HR at VFS Global. Please a warm welcome for Tayo Dayo Abaton. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, Chartered FCIPD, has diverse experience as a senior HR executive and consultant spanning over 30 years. She has led several HR consulting and learning and development projects and organizations across the public and private sectors in Nigeria and the United Kingdom. Oluwatoyin is currently the Registrar Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, the CIPM. Please join us in welcoming Oluwatoyin Nairo. You're welcome. Last but not the least, the only gentleman on the panel. Okay. You have to sit in between. Okay, time when you can move this way. So. Let's be kind. Let's not leverage our feminine power here in the room. So let's show him some kindness. Yemi is a leadership and HR consultant as well as business leader with 30 years multi-sector, multifunction experience. In his role as Chief Talent Officer, YF Talent Partners, he works with clients to drive their talent and business transformation agenda, focusing on end-to-end people management, culture, and leadership initiatives. He was a two-term elected council member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, and has received a number of global recognitions. It's a really long list, so I'll skip that. He's an advocate of great workplaces, and Yemi provides executive mentoring to mid-career and business leaders who are looking to excel in their career journey. So let's give a round of applause to our entire panel. We have some wonderful people in our midst today. And, the conversation, I believe, will be very, very interesting. So let me start off. We heard the lead speaker's intro, and so I'll just like to get your perspective, right, in like 2 minutes on the topic at hand, which is well-being as a strategic business imperative. So I'll start with I call her my madam at the top. Oluwatoyin, please, let's hear your point of view.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, BettahLife, for inviting us, for inviting me as well. Employee well-being, Okay. Employee well-being. I have my bosses sitting across the room, and I'm sure they would smile when I say this, because one of their taglines for me is Miss Work-Life Balance. My bosses are here, a few of them, I think. Yeah, my president is here as well. And for me, employee well-being, with what Mr. Famuyibi also said, encompasses everything in terms of ensuring that our employees are not just satisfied just by what we pay them, total rewards and remuneration, which actually should take care of their well-being as well. But it also includes those elements that would necessarily not think is important, especially if you think of the generations that we're now working with. I'm actually proud to say in CIPM, 75% of our workforce now are millennials and Gen Zs. So they're gradually phasing us out. What is important to that generation, those generations, is very different from what is important to our generation. So it means that in whatever strategies we come up with under well-being or employee well-being, it must speak to all generations in the workplace. And that is quite important. And I would say, if you take care of your employees' well-being, you're taking care of the business. An unwell employee cannot deliver anything to you. An unhappy employee cannot deliver anything to you. An employee that is not balanced in terms of their mental health cannot support the business imperatives or the strategy of the organization. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you very much. So CLY, over to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Standing on existing protocol, I would like to appreciate BettahLife for this opportunity. When we look at the topic of this conversation, employee well-being as a business strategy, for me, I would like to say that it's no longer a nice to have, but it's become very imperative that we begin to put this at the forerunner as HR and business leaders. And what that means for me is, because people bring life to business strategy. Strategy only remains mere concepts, but without people to execute the strategy, then your strategy will never come to life. The more reason why, as business leaders, we need to start thinking on ensuring that that life that brings our strategy to life continues to be at the forefront. More importantly, how do we ensure that our people continue to stay well so that they can deliver optimal performance? Business leaders are always focused on the business outcome, which is the numbers, the productivity numbers, performance numbers, and sustainability of the business. However, ensuring that our employees are optimal and fully whole, mentally, emotionally, physically, to enable us to continue to sustain our business performance. So it's a given that we need to continue to drive this conversation. We need to continue to create more awareness, because the gap that I see largely rests on awareness and leadership buy-in. But how are we as business leaders and HR professionals continue to have these conversations with our business leaders so they can see the impact and the outcome of ensuring that employees deliver awesomely within the workplace? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yemi, your point of view, please.
Thank you. Since we are sitting, I'm sitting on existing protocol. All right, so two things for me. The fact that we're having this conversation now and saying that we're looking at employee well-being as a business strategy means that we're elevating that conversation from the HR space into the business space. So what I'd love to see 2.0, next version of this, is maybe one person in HR and 4 people from business. Then we will have full understanding of why we must move away from just HR speak to real business speak. Business leaders need to be in the room. They need to have these conversations so that they can understand the kind of strategic thinking we're having around this. That's the first thing. The second thing for me is also that when we say employee well-being, what I see in the space of employee engagement initiatives, EAPs, is a lot of copy and paste. In fact, on many HR platforms, people say, I want to implement XYZ, please. Has anybody done anything? And then people drop ideas, and then people say, oh yeah, let me go and do the same thing in my organization. I'm convinced that we can't talk about employee well-being without starting the conversation from the employees. So data for organization A to know what's important for their employees must come from their in the last couple of weeks. You know what I mean? So it's got to be homegrown. That data for what is sustainable for every organization must come from employee engagement. Thank you.
2 minutes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, BettahLife, for this opportunity. Where this one of our NECA, April last year, and it's come to the fore. For me, I'm happy session. It used to be more like a cliche. Everybody's talking about it. Now, I'm so happy that and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much, Taiwo, for that. And just to, I'll just keep it with you, because you said something around, it's good, this is the right time to start the conversation. So how do you think organizations can create workplace well-being practices and policies that are sustainable? And yet you said homegrown, right? So not the copy and paste. So if you share with us.
Okay, so I would say people. So there has to be people to actually be able to gauge the level of their understanding and also their needs. Very, very important. Another thing that will be very important will be that involve the leaders of the business. You have to involve them. I mentioned the parallel lines. A lot of them may be in our generation, maybe Gen X, who come to work, do the work, one bam, go. And then looking at the various generations we have in the workplace now, the millennials and the Gen Zs, who are coming to work with their whole being. So HR has a lot to do there. I love the word that's trending now, that we are no longer order takers. We are 100% involved in the business. So HR needs to be a bit more assertive in convincing leadership to be a part of the initiative, the wellness initiatives. Now, another thing is, when you hear well-being, most times we're more fixated on physical. It's beyond that. So there's the social part, there's the emotional part, there's the financial, and of course the physical. HR must be able to find a way to analyze the ROI. What will be the impact of this on the bottom line? Because that's what speaks to leadership. And so what initiatives are we curating? How are we presenting this? Those 3 points, I believe, will be ways whereby organizations can actually be able to have good policies around employee well-being.
Thank you very much, Taiwo, for that. So, Lara, you know, Taiwo spoke about a lot of the things that, you know, HR practitioners need to sort of work on all of this. So what do you think some of the challenges that HR professionals face today in terms of putting in place well-being programs and their success of such programs?
Thank you for that question. Just to write on Taiwo's comments around the need for us as HR professionals to be a lot more assertive. And that will take me to my first point, which is leadership buy-in and leadership support. Our ability as HR professionals to be able to assert the impact and the ROI of employee well-being and wellness initiative is a challenge, number one. Number two is because our leaders we can't quantify it, right? Like Mr. mentioned during his session, the and sales number. We add more. How do we speak the business language to make it relate to business so they can see the impact to the bottom line? So leadership support and leadership buy-in is another major challenge. The third is budgeting. We are involved in budgeting periods within our business where it's easy to say we want to move from X number to Y number. This is our CAPEX number, this is our OPEX number, this is our payroll budget numbers and all the likes. And you're struggling to fit in budget for your employee wellness initiative because it's intangible to the business. So that's another key challenge that I would take as the third challenge. The fourth for me is awareness. You're speaking to line managers and you're letting them understand why it is important that their employees have mental stability. And they are saying to you, but it's okay now. He's not running temperature. I don't have any medical sick leave from the hospital. And they cannot just seem to understand why that person cannot be performing at optimal level just because it's mentally not stable or he's got mental issues and it's difficult for them to express. Talking about awareness, he also speaks to how much of campaign create the world so that people can even talk about it. Remember when we started our EP initiative a couple of years back? Really it, educating, speaks to these intangible things as little as mental health, as little as parenting, as little as, oh, you have a special needs child, how are you taking care of that child? So leaders, managers can understand the impact to business and productivity is another challenge. Then the final point for me here is diverse employee needs. Current workforce, we have about 4-5 generations, and every generation is peculiar. And how am I able to cater for the multiple generational needs? within my workplace as an HR professional. So I'll just stop at those 5 key points as challenges that we HR professionals face in implementing employee well-being initiatives in our organization.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Lara. So I'll just take the point around business, right? And Yemi, for someone who works very closely with business leaders in terms of transforming their organizations, what do you think business leaders want to hear, right? In terms of that ROI, we keep saying it, but what is important for business leaders? How would you sell the idea of having
I think the concentration has been a bit around the quantifiables when we talk about ROI. So I'm spending X, am I getting Y? But for employee well-being, I think a lot of it is sitting around the emotional and the psychological, because it's not just one part of life that we're looking at. Like Mr. Farmingbo said, we're looking at the salary, very important. We're looking at the physical, health is important, but we're looking at the financial well-being of employees as well, right? I mean, think about it. In some organizations, employees don't even know that if they invest their money in mutual funds today, it's returning to them at 22%. The only concentration for everybody is inflation rates, 36%, 39%. Opportunities to hedge against inflation, nobody's talking about it. You see what I mean? So even if it's just a seminar or a webinar where we invite an investment banker to come and talk to the employees about taking care of your future financially, and then the employee, the entire workforce is thinking, no, they're not talking to me about reports and results and KPIs. They are thinking about my financial well-being. Then you will find a healthier workforce. You know, it may not be quantifiable, but then what you will see is that more people in the organization will say it, and sort it. Because they're feeling more and more emotionally and psychologically. The engagement score, which is quantifiable, apart from the organizational health index, we can't quantify, apart from the trust index as well, but there will be that feeling again on Sunday evening that I am going to work on a Monday morning, rather than having heart palpitations because the environment is not psychologically safe. That's another part of it, psychological safety. And a bit is riding on leadership as well. Am I going to go to work with a leader who's going to scream down on two parts? What we can quantify, that's ROI, to say that, yeah.
What role can you play in ensuring that you drive well-being standards across organizations?
Thank you very much. CIPM has a role in regulating HR practice in Nigeria, as most of us in the room are aware. And that means we have a responsibility for setting standards as well, and ensuring that our members have the requisite knowledge, skills, and expertise to deliver value to the employers that they work with. One of what we need to do, and we do as an institute, is setting guidelines. In terms of employee well-being, we run a lot of webinars surrounding different areas of the HR value chain, but also some that will concentrate on employee well-being. Aside from that, we have to lead from the front, and I'll give an example in terms of setting guidelines. One of what we've started doing recently within the workforce is to look beyond what your salary that you're paid can do for you. I get the joke that my salary no longer takes me to the door. I get that every time, and that has its impact on employee well-being. So what I say to them now in our meetings is, okay, if your salary would not get you to the door, your well-being, employers are encouraging, for instance, their employees to have a side hustle. The financial well-being of the employees plays a very, very huge role in how they bring themselves to work. If I have a financial need and my family is suffering, I'm least worried about whether I meet the strategic imperatives of CIPM or not. So one of what we encourage to say, okay, what side hustle can you bring to bear, or can you actually engage in that does not conflict with what CIPM does? And I think that's part of setting guidelines. One of what we also do, and I'm sure again, A lot of HR practitioners here are aware we have what we call the HR Oscars. Why do we do that? We do that as an institute to educate, to ensure that we are assessing policies, procedures, processes that organizations have in place on all areas of the HR value chain, including employee well-being. So yes, it's an award program, but what is most important to us as an institute is the learnings that organizations glean from the process. So we come in, we assess where you are, we look at what you offer in terms of facilities, flexible working arrangements, the facilities that you have, amenities surrounding crashes, what do you have in place in terms of gym facilities. When we come in to see you, we're already setting the guideline. And for those that do it really well, we promote them and say, have you tried visiting this XY organization? This is what they do in regard to employee well-being. That's still part of setting the standards. Another area that I think we also need to pay close attention to is disability awareness. It's a very important part of employee well-being, and I think it's an area that we're not really talking a lot about. So CIPM, for instance, is in collaboration with site savers. And one of what we also promised them as leading from the front is to employ at least one person within the organization that has or is living with a disability. One, again, that's part of the guidelines that we're setting. So I'm pleased to say actually a librarian actually is someone living with a disability, and she's actually settling in very well, and she's actually, I'm not saying it's not confidential because it's a physical disability, so when you come in, you see her. But linked to that as well, part of employee well-being, and I must say this again, is a lot of employers will focus on, okay, we've recruited the disabled employee, but have you ever thought of what happens to the employee that becomes disabled in the course of work? So do we have an environment that will encourage them to come forward, if it's not a physical disability, to actually say and compensate to you, I actually have a disability, whether it's mental health? Because I may not necessarily tell you that I'm bipolar, but I am, and impact on the work. So those are some of the areas that we're working with organizations and also promoting the fact that we as an institute would lead from the front.
Thank you very, very much. I can see that the CIPM is doing a lot in that regard. And so, Taiwo, let me ask you, the lead speaker spoke about ensuring the 8 dimensions of wellness, right, are sort of focused on and not just physical wellness. So if you could possibly share with us some best practices you've seen, although Yemi says there's no best practice anymore, so let's say good practices around having a more holistic approach to well-being in the workplace.
I'm also of the school of thought of there are no best standards. There are no best practices, but acceptable standards. And so I will give an example, or I'll give several examples. So if you look at, earlier on I mentioned into the 4 areas. I said the physical, the emotional, the financial, and the social. Okay, so let me start with the physical. One of the things we do in my organization is we always have aerobic sessions twice a month. In terms of the emotional, we have what we call time out with the shrink. So therapists come into our organization, there's a room for employees to go and engage with them. I don't want to know whatever you're discussing with the therapist. And the feedback has been phenomenal. In terms of the social, and that's what I believe for us as HR, we need to emphasize on. We have a speak-up policy. Employees should have an environment whereby they can actually speak up. That will address the case of bullying. We have an ethics line where reports can be made anonymously. We have a compliance team that will do the investigation. Town halls are done on a monthly basis. I manage 38 countries, so town halls done with me in attendance, hearing feedback from employees, what is happening in your environment, what are your needs, and also an opportunity for openness, whereby during the town hall, the activities of the business is also shared, and that would also help to manage employee expectation. Most employees have high expectation. Meanwhile, the business is not in the tone and guidelines of those kind of sessions. For the financial, It would be nice to bring in, like Emi said, bring in investment professionals, come and talk to them how to build their wealth. Tony had mentioned the side of the side hustle, you know. So when we're having events, we're asking, does anybody do decoration here? Again, MC, you know, and things like that. I believe that people come to work with their whole being. She mentioned something about bipolar. So what I'm saying basically now, that when we prioritize employee well-being, A plus B is no longer C. Beyond the KPIs and the deliverables, there are other intangibles, like Lara said, that we have to address. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Toyin. Sorry, let's say Toyin Taiwo. Sorry, Toyin, you're too close to me here. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you very much, Taiwo. Okay, I mean, do you think, what are some of the key indicators that would suggest that a company's well-being programs or initiatives are having a positive impact on the culture of the organization and retention?
Okay, thanks. I think the first thing I'd love to say is that employee well-being is not HMO. Many people think that once they have HMO in place, what we need to do is just have enhanced benefits. Thank you. So when you can, that piece, so that's additional. It goes beyond HMO. And can I also say that employee well-being is not TGI, not it's not a time for people to go and, I think the word is slop. Go and drink and be happy, and then they come back with their sorrows in the morning. It goes beyond all of that. It's really care of the total person, the employee. So how do we know that things are working? Indicators. So I'll tell you a story. I was in an organization, I won't say the year, smart movement, go check LinkedIn profile, but we're a system where employees will come, go through the interview process, and when it's about the time for them to be fully employed, we invited them to spend a day with the department where they're going to be deployed. Sit with an employee, see how things are done, so that you can now decide, organization. Guess what we found out? We found out that the rate of go to the final process, and this was also what was happening. Employees who were bodies sit and be working with the candidate and be saying, "You want to come and work here?" Pity you. They're working, and then I have been here for 5-6 years. I've been on this desk. If you employees total career interest, well-being, career path, and all that, we just thought, we provided a job for them, we give them salary, increasing salaries year on year, 10%, 15%, but it goes way beyond that. One of the things we did based on that data was, so it was a call center, was to now realize that why should we go outside the organization to go and get entry-level people into sales, into finance, into IT, into legal department, when we had people at the call center who were qualified, but they had been on contract terms for a very long time and nobody was moving them anywhere. So one of the things we did was to say, for entry-level roles, no more external recruitment. The first point of call was there for the call center, and I remember that there was a guy in Kano who we moved from call center into the IT department, another from call center into the legal department. Feel the pause. We won't know what we do so that we can take care of employees. So when we do use people based on the well-being of the current workforce, we don't lose candidates that maybe we are doing very well. When employee advocacy is great, i.e. we're looking for people and somebody say, I have a friend, I have family, I have somebody somewhere, let me recommend them to come and work. The score from the employee perspective is on the right, and people are encouraged that great here. Then maybe we'll have done well. In addition to like I said, the trust index, the employee engagement, when finally for me we don't have too many quiet quitters in the organization. Those who bring their body to the organization, but soul and spirit is in Canada, US, UK, Australia these days, Germany, and other places. But when we see how the body, spirit, and soul totally within the organization, then we are taking care of our employees.
Thank you very much, Yemi, for that. It just shows that we should think about the whole individual, the human being, and then be focused on that. So it's like, know your employees, right? Thank you. KY. That's, yeah. So know your employees. Thank you very much. Coach Lara, you mentioned about budget being one of the considerations, right? So for, we have different people here, even online, so what are some of the initiatives that smaller organizations, right, can do in terms of well-being that will not break the bank? Just share with us.
Thank you so much. To respond to that question, I'll start with what YF had mentioned about data, not just copying and pasting all the initiatives that you see around. First and foremost is, what is your employee data? And that starts with running surveys. We need to start by sending out those questionnaires to really understand their interests, to understand the demography of your employees. Having said that, it goes beyond just, now we have the data, HMO. No, it's really looking at that data for insights, to understand the critical needs for your employees. For instance, if you're in a workforce that, you have an aging workforce, at that point you need to start looking at initiatives that would speak to the age in your workforce. In addition to that, budget constraint is also another thing. You need to also look at actions, initiatives that would be the low-hanging fruits within your organization. For instance, it could be just a webinar. It could be a webinar that speaks to financial constraints or financial issues. I remember there was a time about 2-3 years ago, our LTI rate was quite high. We had a target. For those in the manufacturing industry, LTI is your lost time injury. So the time where employees get injured at work, you've lost productive time. Because at that point, that employee can't continue to work. They have to go take care of themselves. We realized when we were doing the RCA, root cause analysis, that the reason why those injuries were happening were at a particular time of the day, towards the end of the day. They were skipping the LOTO process, the safety procedure process, because they wanted to go and catch the staff boss. First come, first serve. Whoever gets to the boss first gets a space in the bus. As little as that was causing injury in the workplace, because they wanted to just quickly bypass safety protocol so that I can catch an available seat in the bus. When we got that information, it was data point for us to go and look at, now how can we ensure that we increase the number of buses that we have? That's one. The shift numbers as well was another thing. And that initiative enabled us to address that issue. There was another one again, another data point was around somebody was owing a lot of money and he got carried away thinking of, how am I going to pay this debt that I have? And we invited an investment organization to come and speak to us in the organization. So we have our data, but how well are we as HR professionals looking at the data for insights to identify those meaning intangible things that we can run within our organization? You might not have the budget to run big initiatives, but start with little initiatives. Another one that we do, I have our EAP person here, is the exercise. So what that means is, within the organization, for 30 minutes, we go online and we all dance. We also have our dance initiative where we have professionals come in, dance, so that people can move and get active. So some of these things are very intangible, but they go a long way in enabling the well-being of the organization. So start with your data, look at it for insight, identify low-hanging fruits, look at people or organizations you can collaborate with to support your initiative. Those will be my points for now. Thank you.
Okay, yeah,
Can I add
please
something?
go ahead.
So there is a table shaking inside me. I'm trying to hold it, but it's like an elephant in the room. I've retired from shaking tables, yes. But there's an elephant in the room on employee well-being, and I have to say here now, that's the issue of leave or vacation. It's a big issue. We are doing TGIF, we're doing what else? Dancing on. I'm sure that was your own initiative in your organization. We're doing all sorts. And those things are all good. But things like I took on vacation and my application is manager's desk for 3 weeks. For somebody who was physically okay, the fact that every day this same individual is working with me, is not saying anything about it, is it affecting my mental health? It is. You know what I mean? And there is this practice that when new employees join, in many organizations, we say, I'm looking at people everywhere in the room, we say that they go on vacation until after. We need to review that practice. The organization listening to me now or online, please, all HR people, if the only thing I get out of this conversation for me, honestly, job done. People should be able to put on leave after 6 months of confirmation. And it is also unfair that we don't pay them their leave allowance after that 1 year. We enjoy two things as employees every month. Number one, our accrued leave days is monthly. Number two, my leave allowance is earned monthly. So if I join your organization in maybe October, so October, November, December, 3 months, by the end of 3 months already. You know what I mean? So you owe me 3 months of my leave allowance, and you owe me maybe 6 days at 2 days per month that I may carry over into the following year. But what I hear, and senior HR people argue this with me every day. I'm sure you can see some anger in my face. That people cannot go on leave until after 1 year. HR people, it is absolutely a wrong practice and cannot lead to employee well-being.
Thank you very much. Taiwo, do you have any? Yeah, please go ahead.
Just to add to that, we do 6 months. They look at so we do 6 months, you're allowed to go. Another thing is that you can, like he said, it's from the day you join. So every month you accrue and we add up for you. Finally is that in one of my lives, I made a policy to say that your leave allowance and your vacation are mutually exclusive. What that means is that if I have a need, if an employee has a need, an employee can ask for his or her leave allowance. It's not compulsory that you earn it before you earn it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Taiwo and Yemi, for that. And I do hope the HR leaders in the room and online have some food for thought so that we can begin to shape acceptable standards across the industry. So thank you very much for that. And Tony, what's going on here? I don't understand. I honestly, please don't delist me. She wants to delist me. Please, I'm begging, Tony. Okay, Tony, over to you. I mean, Lara spoke about the use of data, ensuring that, those data points are speaking to us, right? We're doing something about the data that we get, and then we can start small, see what our organization is. Just talking about the fact that, everybody's talking about emerging trends and, what's happening. In your view, right, what are some of those emerging trends that you see maybe over the next 2 to 3 years in terms of employee well-being and the impact it has on individuals and organizations?
Okay, thank you. Yemi, you're still shaking the table anyway, so I don't know why you say you've stopped shaking the table. It's part of what you do, and you do it well. We are looking at holistic well-being programs. That is very important. And I think, again, we've all said it today, it goes beyond the normal payroll. We've also talked about the different in the workplace. What speaks to me as, what's my generation? Okay. Thank you, Gen X, Abby. It's very different what would speak to, actually, the baby boomers are out this year. Need I say that? The last of the baby boomers, for those that have 60, as the retirement age, sir, the baby boomers are out this year. So that leaves us, Gen X, in the workplace alongside our millennials. So when we're looking at holistic well-being, employee well-being, we look at different things that would appeal to them. The gym appeals to you, may not appeal to me. I always say, na fat, nobody say I keep it. So leave me alone. It's okay. If it's fine by me, then leave me alone. But my young person might think, I want to be trimmed for that Barbados trip. So the gym is important to me. So do we give opportunities for our employees to cherry pick what they want in terms of their well-being, in terms of different programs that we have in place? So that's number one. Number two, I think I'd mentioned already, mental health. It's becoming rampant, and a lot of organizations, I think we just say, God forbid, it's not my portion. I will never employ a mad person. And mental health is not about somebody being mad, actually. And we need to, again, begin to work on those stereotypical behavior, actually labeling people, and begin to think, in fact, maybe some of what we put them through at work that actually led to that situation of them having a mental health issue. So again, stress management is very important. One of the things we do at CIPM on a yearly basis, we have a stress management training. It has to happen. And that's because it's the recognition of the volume of work that we have to go through, volume of programs that we run. My bosses are looking at me, I'm looking away. I'm still going to say it. We need to ensure that we have the capacity to cope with the stress of the work. So stress management is compulsory on a yearly basis for us to have that. And that is not, you're not excluded from that. It's compulsory. So it's not, you cannot cherry pick that one. What do we do in organizations? Again, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to shake the table. Employees become disabled in the course of work. Is there a first reaction to get them out of the door? Or are we looking at areas or other work roles or job roles that they can fit into? Accommodate them. It's very important. And again, with the Disability Act and all that, how many of us are actually aware of what that tells us to do and our responsibilities? And CIPM, we're coming back to CIPM, and I think maybe this is one of what we need to run as one of our CIPM IU series, an awareness program, and that is down to us again as an institute. We have that responsibility. Flexible working, everybody is branded flexible working all over the place. But a lot of us talk about working from home. In Nigeria, I don't see a lot of part-time working. I don't see job sharing. And the other, working from home would never be possible in Nigeria. Hello, COVID came, and what happened? We all did it. So I don't understand. When we talk about flexible working, I don't know if you do. Please tell me if I'm wrong. How many of you have part-time workers in the organizations? Part-time. Job sharing. And we know there's a difference between job sharing and part-time. How many? Okay, my HR practitioners, there you go. The challenge is out there to you. I'm a working mother, but I don't want to come back to work. We're a new working mother. I don't want to come back to work full-time. Aside from telling me, it's okay 9 to 4, close at 4, resume at 9. What else can you do to help me? Give me an opportunity to work part-time. I don't want to lose income because I don't want to leave my partner to be burdened with the financial responsibilities alone. So do you allow me to job share? Do you allow me to go time? And I think it's something we need to begin to look at, because that's been happening abroad and in the diaspora for years. Why are we reluctant to embrace it? Even in the manufacturing industries, it can be done. And you find that that's part of employee well-being. 3 days a week, I'm giving you my best, because I know that in those 2-3 days, my performance is being measured and being assessed on how I'm delivering. And I know that the remaining 2 days are for me to cater for my family. I will gladly stay with you. And as people get older, they don't want to be at work 5 days a week. As I move towards retirement, and one of my bosses used to call it the departure lounge, and I say I'm not departing anywhere. What are you doing to help me prepare for my retirement? Technology as well, very key. The use of apps to measure wellness of employees, I can go on and on, but I think I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just ask one final question, and any one of us can respond to it before we then take the Q&As, either from the room, and we have a couple of questions online as well that I'll be reading. Right, so this question, and yeah, we've talked a lot about the employee and, all the things we need to do to support the employee. So how do you balance organizational performance demands? Right, because even when you were shaking the table on leave, some of the excuses people give is, we need, and all of that. So how do you balance organizational performance demands with employee well-being needs? So how do we sort of strike that balance? And maybe I can start, Taiwo.
Okay. So yes, we have to strike that balance. And I think one of the things we have to do will be we have to set realistic targets. Even with the targets that we set, and I'm talking about the deliverables, the KRAs, the KPIs, they have to be realistic. Another thing will be that, linking to that will be that we have to infuse those conversations. We have to infuse wellness into our conversation. So we have our monthly management meeting. How do we handle those meetings? Do we set it with a tone of pressure? So I have meetings with my team, and the first thing I'm asking is, how are you? How are you is not the normal typical, hi, how are you? I'm asking, how are you? Once a week, we have, once a month, the last Thursday of every month, we have talk to me. Talk to me, we're not talking about work. I'm not saying, how have you felt this month? I'm saying, what has happened in the course of the month? What are your highs and your lows? And we share those moments. I believe that we have to have those realistic conversations to ease the pressure. Of course, the business is a going concern, not an NGO. So we have to make money, but we need to have more robust conversations when we are handling performance. I've mentioned that we have to make those targets realistic and then bring wholeness into those conversations. Another thing I would like to say is, which is very important, we talk about leave, we all have our leave policy, but how flexible are those leave policies? There are some conversations in the place of work, and I've mentioned it before, that are more like an abomination. So an employee says, I want to go and see my therapist. How does that now, we stereotype that employee, and it begins to affect that person's performance or how that person is rated at the end of the year. Are people flexible enough to say, I just want some time off work? How are we supporting around that? Let me give a joke, and it's not a joke, it actually happened to me. I had one employee come to meet me and say, Taiwo, I want 3 days off work. My boyfriend lost his father, and I want to mourn with him. And I said, why are you coming to me? Talk to your manager. Talk to the person. Said, she's not approving. And I had to call that person. Can you not allow her to go? They said, but compassionate leave says that it has to be direct sibling. How flexible are we? Policies are moving away from policy to become procedures. And when we say procedures, they are guidelines. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Taiwo. Yemi?
Okay, so I'll just start from in other lands and live to take care of their pets. We're still struggling to take care of human beings, this part of the world. Well, for me, I think what's also important is, your question was around balance. So maybe I've said that 2.0 of this conversation should be business. So let's balance the conversation. We need employer well-being as well. Because it is only when the business is still in business that we can have employee well-being, right? Given. But again, when we are looking at the FMCG space, for instance, even machines break down. And we build in slacks, don't we? For a day, maybe one day in a year or one day in a quarter, you shut down the machine and you do a turnaround and all of that. So why are we building jobs and roles and functions without building in slacks? So our job analysis, our job design, our job evaluation must also build in the fact that we are dealing with human beings, and at some point in time they will need to be away from work. So who else in the team can do the job? Who else in other teams can do the job? Just yesterday I had an interesting conversation with a client. We were talking about training, and then I wanted to see the MD. Somebody is going on leave. Who is the head of the department? And the head of the department will be handing over to the MD. That led totally to a separate conversation for me. I actually left the training conversation to say, let's talk about culture, let's talk about other things, trust, and all of that. So if you don't build in the fundamentals of employee well-being, we can't have employee well-being. So let's know that machines break down, human beings also need to go and refresh. I think one of the laws or one of the highly principles of highly effective people is to sharpen the saw. From time to get away, rest may be just what we need sometimes to come back with a fantastic perspective for the business that we're running.
Thank you, Yemi. Lara?
Thank you. Not to repeat all that has been said, for me, another way through which we can link employee well-being to business performance to ensure there's balance is, as HR leaders, they need and monitor. What do I mean? When your culture is not right, like Yemi said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. At the end of the day, employee well-being, we must be able to link it and articulate it to business performance by monitoring. If your employees are not in the right frame of mind, how are you able to observe their performance with line manager to create awareness, to say, observe this person, the day is this. I mean, sometimes you're at work and you're just brain tired. Do we feel such something? Yes, there's sometimes you get to work and you're like, gosh, I can't even think. That's a data set. When employees are coming to work and they're telling you, I can't think. If they cannot think, how will they do the job? Yeah, they can't be productive. But as that, our attention to the, I mean, that's a lagging indicator. But how are we empowering our line to continuously have those engagement with them, to observe how they are being creative at work and how they are delivering their work on a daily basis. Another way we can bring a balance to it is continuous engagement. Yes, some of these indices might not be tangible, but as we continue to engage, are we seeing improvement in the output of the employee performance? So all these things might be intangible, but it enables us to continue to have the conversations with our business to bring it back home, which is to drive sustainable business performance on an individual basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lara. Tony?
I think I have to clear. There has to be clear communication between management and employees. So, what are the expectations required of the employees? When employees are clear about what is expected of them, they're able to deliver. There's no point in having a blurry line that does not define what I'm expected to deliver, the timeline in which I'm expected to deliver, and again, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring this in, consequence management. A consequence for not delivering within those timelines. Because again, what we're saying is we want a balance in terms of mental health. Part of me helping your mental health is the fact that I've been very clear about what I want. How I want it, the quality of the work, and when I want it delivered. And when it's not delivered, what will be the consequence? Especially if you're not respectful enough, courteous enough to let me know why you cannot deliver within those timelines. That's number one. Number two, I'm pushing it back to all the leaders in the room, is the supportive leadership. A lot of times we talk the talk, we don't walk the talk. We need to be more intentional. And when I mean intentional about being serious about employee well-being. I'll give you an example. My wonderful team. HMO covers eye test and all that. And I've asked, okay, how many of you have actually accessed HMO for your eye test? VDU, you're constantly in front of the computer. How are you taking care of your eyes? And they were not answering. I nicely used my network, got in touch with one of the big of optometrists, and I said, you know what, I need you to come to my office and conduct eye tests for all employees. And it's going to be free. And that's part of using what we have as leaders in terms of our network. If you're not going to go out there, then I'll come to you. Because I don't want you to come back to me and say, your eyes are watery, you can't see the light for you can't deliver what I've asked you to deliver. So those areas that we think we can help them, let's do so. That's just an example. And again, the last one, break times. We're all guilty. I'm guilty as well. We all put it in our employment contracts. You have your break time between 12 and 2, 1 hour. Please, realistically, how many of you within this room take your break times? Ma, you don't. Because you're then doing CIPM meeting. How many of us? Because again, you know, one thing we're very lucky that here, maybe the working time directive is not prevalent here, but back in the UK, the working time directive is very clear. Break times are compulsory. I find it hard when I'm telling him, have you taken your break away in a meeting? And I'm just thinking, I'm frustrated. Maybe I'm joining them actually. My break time is my break time, but I don't do it as well because I've now learned to do what others do here. But over there, once it's 12 o'clock, you see people carry their bags, and break time is not at their desk. I tell my team members, I don't want to see you at your desk. That's in the UK anyway. Please carry your bags and go. Go and eat your food away. And that, I can't think. That 1 hour is for you to go and recollect yourself, rejuvenate yourself. Even if you don't want to eat, go for a walk. So please, again, Yemi, I'm joining you to shake the table on leave. Break times should be compulsory and allow them to access Facebook and whatever, because some of us have firewalls. Between so and so time, you cannot access social media platforms. Between 12 and 2 now you can access if you want them to remain at their VDU. Thank you.
Thank you so much to my panel. Thank you very much. So I'll just take a few questions that have come from our online audience. And the leave one, Taiwo, you'll respond to the leave. We have like 3 questions on leave, right? So obviously, I mean, that table you decided to shake was worth shaking. And the first one from Emmanuel, I have a question. Is leave allowance mandatory according to labor law? The second question, so I'll just take all 3, then you'll respond, thanks. Is leave allowance deducted from employees' pay? And then the final question on leave, if an employee is allowed to go on leave after 6 months at the point of confirmation, how do you then determine the leave days and the allowance? Wow, there's a training required.
Okay. Leave allowance is not part of the law. It's part of your value proposition as an organization. Is it deducted from pay? If it's it's part of your C2C. So some companies may amortize it on a monthly basis, so you earn it as you go, and then some will accrue and pay when you are eligible. So that's what I would say. So I think the
final one, the final
person
question
asking for that question may need some clarity.
Yeah,
may need some clarity.
Sure.
And then the final question will be, how is it calculated? Like you said, a training is required.
It is.
But if you have a very robust HRIS, it's just plug and play. Once you impute, it accrues. Thank you.
Thanks so
but
much.
It's 10% also.
Okay.
Some companies pay more, some pay 15%.
Okay, so it depends really in terms of your value proposition.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Taiwo.
Practice. Leave allowance is practice, not a law. But I think for CIPM, Mr. President, and think so. Some don't even know how to calculate prorate. When you pay, but do I know